Peace, peace, love, love. All right, it's Tuesday tea. Come on in, come on through. Come on in, come on through. It's Tuesday tea. Cannot believe I just did a little jingle. But that's real life for me, though. That's what I do. Come on in, come on through. We are waiting to join in with Dr.Shawn Ricks. I'm trying to pull up my live on my Mac here so that I don't have to be all up in the camera. Because I can't see that far. But peace, 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 love. Come on through, come on through. All right. Yay. Okay, let's see how this works. Peace, y'all. Okay, let's see. I see you, but I don't see you. Peace, peace, love. It's Tuesday tea. Y'all got your tea ready? Y'all ready to come through? Y'all ready to come through? All right. Sit down and have some tea. Wait for Dr.Shawn Ricks to come on in.
Hello.
Hey, sister, how are you?
I'm good. I had to use my cell phone, so I'm trying to.
Got to get it stable.
Yeah, it did not like coming off of the computer. So give 1 second.
Yeah.
I like to put my headphones in too. Uh-oh. So now you get to see my ceiling.
Working hours. Right.
I do all the things. Okay. Now
I'm
I don't know what I'm doing here. Well, I think this is good enough.
right.
How's that? Good enough?
Good. Yes. Beautiful. Good to see
It's
your
good.
face.
It's good to see your face too, sis. For my tea selection today, I am having this one. Maybe this looks familiar.
Yes. You got the restoration green tea over there?
That's correct. It's the
Yes.
immune building. And I said, this is, with this rain and everything, you're in Asheville, right?
Yes.
So, in Winston, I think the weather actually is pretty similar probably, but it's, so kind of, it's a perfect day for tea, to Tuesday tea. I don't know what y'all like. Only
Yeah.
thing that's missing is taro, but that's another
Yeah.
story.
Yes, we got to bring that in too one time, huh?
Cha, I've already done mine this morning. Don't seem like I can get my day started without a good oracle card or something.
Yes, yes. What is what is your ritual, if you don't mind sharing? What
Oh,
a
I don't
morning
mind
ritual.
at all. And our rituals shift as they need to, right? I just posted today on Facebook a picture of the moon going through different cycles, and it's like it's okay to be, different in 5 minutes. So, my current ritual is I joined a Course in Miracles call.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that is a spirituality call about, and it's a group, it's about 50 of us from around the country, and we go through a lesson, and then somebody kind of reminds us that we're divine beings,
Mm-hmm.
that we are, we are what a miracle is, which is basically, just a change in thought.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of starts my day, and while that's kind of happening, and that happens at about 6:45 or so, I normally pull an oracle card and then a couple of tarot cards. I'm integrating into my routine. Um, I'm calling in the ability to get up 30 minutes earlier to add in some meditation and some yoga to it. But I'm coming out of burnout, which a lot of people I don't think realize, like a real like took FMLA off of work, burnout.
Oh wow.
And so the fact that I'm waking up again at 6:30 as opposed to, you know, the exhaustion, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm allowing myself grace in reestablishing patterns that, work for me as well. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got to give ourselves that.
hmm
Yeah, give ourselves that space. I think that's one thing that I've learned. I was right on the breach of burnout right before COVID. I could feel it. It was getting to that point, and it just came right on time. So yeah, I've been taking time to do that too, to rest, to it's
yes,
days where, my ritual practices are just as I planned them. And there's some days where, I'm waking up 10 o'clock and I have to be gentle with myself and say I needed the rest. I didn't really sleep good last night. I have a lot going on and it's okay.
it's a
So,
pandemic.
mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times when I'm talking to clients, I'm like, hey, I just want to remind you, we're in a global pandemic. Like, you know,
Yeah.
because I think part of the ritual of, or the experience, at least of Black women, has been this like get it doneness. So one of the things I'm looking for new language because I have a empowerment program for women that's called No Mask, No Cape, right? And it was all about this idea that we need to show up authentically, but we also need to debunk this strong Black woman
Mm.
ideology, right? Um, and and I have done a lot of work around that. I wrote an article for Yes Magazine about it, and really just diving in. Like that's really why I do this proactive piece, is because it's either time up front or time, either way, time, either
Yeah.
way, you got to do some work. But I had to keep reminding people, like, this is not normal, y'all. Like, you can be off for a day. You can have, some grief. You can have some sadness. You can need additional rest. And if you need additional rest, it's okay.
Yeah. 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 We're all adjusting. Like things are shifting as it's never been before. So of course,
Yes.
it's gonna feel that way. It's gonna feel off. It's gonna feel confusing. I'm constantly having moments throughout my day where I'm just like, okay, is this reality? Like, what is really happening?
So many things feel surreal to me, sis, that I'm like, uh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay. Or I'll have little flashes of like deja vu, which I'm still trying to figure out what that. I'm like, so what do you think deja vu is?
Okay,
What does it mean to you?
yeah. So that, oh my goodness. So I think I had this conversation couple months ago, right as this was happening. And for the last year around this time, I had dreams, right, of this big, it was more like something that was covering the earth, right? It was like this bloody whatever. And now is when the pandemic come, I was like, oh, it's this disease, it's, this illness. Um, so I think from that period, I was having dreams of different, occurrences or what I was going to be talking about or what I was going to be sharing or these downloads of information that was coming. So as the pandemic approached, it was now it's these. I think it's this merging of whatever was I was dreaming about or prepared for, or these downloads that I was having is actually happening now. So it's these the 3D reality and these different realities coming together all at this point. And so that's what I believe it is. It's kind of like the visions that we have are
Mm.
being realized, and so it's this. It feels glitchy. It feels.
I was just thinking glitch in my mind. I was like, oh, it sounds like she's describing like a glitch. Like somebody's like, you remember when you used to be able to scratch a record? I don't
Yes.
profess to be a DJ, but I do remember, people used to. So it almost feels like it's a hiccup for a second, and so you're like, wait, this feels like familiar, or this feels right, or this feels
Because the
something.
brain can't process that, right, because
Right.
we are dealing with all this spiritual, intellectual, limitless consciousness, and our brain is trying to process and put it in time frames, and it doesn't. It's glitches. It's like a literal glitch.
Literally, it's so funny you should talk about time because I see an acupuncturist here in town. I live in Winston-Salem, as um, I
Hmm.
think you're aware. So I go to see Dr. Amsu Bayel. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Hmm.
Amsu. Anyway, so he's a great brother, great brother. But last time I went to see him, like every time I go in for acupuncture, you get like acupuncture and, you
Right.
know, what else am I picking up? So you get like all the things. And I'm like, bruh, I just want you, I told you like my little hip or whatever, I'm working on my liver because of my anger. And I'm like, I just need you. And he's like, I'm doing that. But I'm also wondering. So last time I was there, he was like, what is going on with time? Like, there's something going on with you in time. Like, you are. And I said, I don't know what you mean. Now, that was both truth and non-truth because I had had a conversation with my dear friend Lashonda maybe 2 days before I went in to see him to say I feel like everything is moving so quickly. I think we intentionally need to slow things, try to slow things down, and what she reminded me of, she's like, well, time is not linear and it's an illusion. So we're both here and there, and you can be in this dimension and another dimension. And I was like, you know what? I totally can't process that right now.
Hmm.
It was a lot, but the fact that he brought it up and you brought it back up, to me, that's all confirmation again.
Yeah, I have, my weekly, being in mental health, I have learned also not just being in mental health, but living, living this life in this black body,
Yes,
as a human being, that I have to have my own therapist, right? So I have my weekly sessions, and it's just been, yeah, this constant, reflecting on the cycles in my life, and one of them is the time, the time frame. And so I've been having these moments of like, I get it that, those surreal moments of like, I get that I'm creating my reality, right? But it's happening at such a rate now where literally I can feel it, I can sense it, I can taste it, I can see it. And so the merging of time is happening where it's now, it's the future, it's I'm reflecting the past, it's all of, like you said, it's all of these different non-linear moments happening at
right.
one time. And I think that's part of this breaking down that's happening right now is we have gotten so used to doing things so linear. It's go to work, it's go to school, it's go to, and it becomes so mundane and so routine that everything else that happens, in order for us to come together, in order for us to realize that we are all connected in one time frame or another. As I feel like we're learning now through all the uprisings that's happening now, is that yeah, we can't avoid, you know, this this massive consciousness that we are. We can't avoid this connection that we all are. And time,
Right.
when we're in linear time, it separates us. It puts us
It
all in
does.
little, you know, con-
Right.
clothes of like, I'm doing this over here, you're doing this down here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's definitely something we're breaking down. It's tumbling down, it's all tumbling down.
Yes, and thankfully, right, because part of the duality, I mentioned, that's been my theme, right? But part of the duality is, you know, we are individual, we do, we have our individual selves, but that we are a part of a collective. And, I think what has happened in Western culture is, and this has been, anti everything for a lot of us who have African roots or Native American origins, or really any of Black, Brown, Indigenous folks have collective mindsets. Kind of, I think, like in our I'm always wondering. I always wasn't. Don't want to use that. A lot of times, I am looking for ways to be inclusive. Like how can I, do this with someone? How can I bring this person on? How can I,
Yeah.
whatever? What can I? But we that goes into direct contradiction with what we've been kind of raised up. Like you got get yours and make your paper, la 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 la. And trying to hold those two, I think, in our mind even is like, what? So when it comes to this healing work, right, when it comes to this collective grieving that we're also feeling, right, to be mindful that I have individual grief around what's happened with COVID. I have individual, losses, whether they be people or the loss of being able to go to TJ Maxx to buy a mug. That's a real perceived loss, right? If it was meaningful to me. And, the collective grief of now it's not just the pandemic, but it's Brother Ahmad, it's Sister Brianna, it's Brother George, it's Brother Rayshard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The list goes on. And that's just the four in the last maybe 8 to 10 weeks. Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't even say all of the others. And so I think if we can understand, this idea that we can be part of a collective movement, which is happening, and, we can do our own personal work, because the personal is the collective is the personal. That you don't have to, so even if you never go to a march, right, and you are doing your work around high vibrational living or grieving or whatever it is, you're still part of the movement. Like anyway, I
Yeah,
digress. You had
yeah.
to keep me on task. I should have given you we need
No,
a
it's
we need a
perfect.
sign, like you can go like this when you need me to.
No, this is what Teen Talk is all about. We're talking, we're vibing, whatever comes through, it's
You
all.
could be like, land the plane, sis, land the plane.
No, it's coming through perfectly.
Okay.
I'm seeing it, I'm visualizing, and I feel it. That is the lesson of Mayat for me. Mayat is not
Uh-huh.
only the goddess that keeps the natural order and balance. So within that is to have the truth, is to have the balance, is to have the harmony. But um, Mayat also allows us to be able to see our part in the whole. So that's why it's so important for me to slow down during this time and focus on, yes, my wellness. And then at times when I'm able to, I can share what that looks like, because I know that that too is helpful for others. And so that is my practice of sharing this living in joy, living in harmony, living and in collaboration with others.
Yeah.
Um, and I and that's and it doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be, I've created this business, prior to all of this, but that's not really what I'm working in my daily life. What I'm working is really, my own rituals, my own, like you said, self-care practices. How do I, you know, listen to my sisters when she says, look, I'm
Yes.
tired. I think you need to just take today and just rest. I'll check in with you later. Yeah,
Are you talking to me? I'm telling you, this morning when I was getting dressed, right? First of all, I've been, wait, that's a digression. But I looked and I was like, you look tired, right? But part of the work I do with other folks is a reminder to check in with themselves, right? Like, how are you feeling? What do you need? Did you sleep well? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? What would you like to do for play today? What is your joyful movement? Like all of the things, right? And for myself, I noticed, and you notice as a mental health clinician, when the pandemic happened and then when this George Floyd thing happened, I started having some guilt over I should show up for other people. Like this is a high need time. And then I was like, well, wait, I have to get my capacity. I have to completely fill my tank first. So
yes.
let me pull off the road and, figure that out before I start offering, stuff for folks. Because that's like, I like to call it angry spaghetti. Like nobody wants angry spaghetti. I don't want to just be doing stuff because you're doing it. Like, all right, everybody hungry here.
Right,
Fine, let me get this pot out and put some water in it and cut this onion. Here's some spaghetti. Like, nobody wants angry spaghetti. Yeah,
I
that's
love
my angry spaghetti syndrome, right? So I was like, no, I don't want to just show up for folks like, rub my eyes and like, okay, here we go. Like, I have to be in a space, where I have removed as much of my gunk, so that I can show up as purely as possible and hold space in a way that is meaningful. But if I don't have the capacity to do that, then I have to have the compassion to say to myself, Shawn, go sit down. And when it's, other people can do this work. I'm not the only,
Mm-hmm.
person, right? But I am the only me for me.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there are other people who can do this work, and I might be actually creating space for that. If I, shift back, maybe somebody else has been resting and refueling, and they're ready to just pop right up and,
Wow, that is
so.
that I felt that. I felt that.
Mm,
That is so
I,
rich right
yeah.
there. Just yes, when we give ourselves space, that allows someone else the opportunity, the time to step in. We have to believe that we flow like that. That we
Mm-hmm.
have to carry it on. That goes back to what you're saying about debunking the whole strong black woman thing. Like
Yes.
feeling like we have to carry it all, do it all. And that requires us to not feel ourselves, to not rest, to not take care of
Yes.
ourselves. So when we allow
Yes.
ourselves space, then I can let sis do her thing, and not feeling
Right.
like you know, it's any conflict or competition or any of that. It's just allowing space. That's what I felt this
Allowing.
morning. I rose when I took to my sister's. I felt this yesterday. Actually, I felt this huge shift. I don't know what I think the plan is. It's moved. I think it moved into Taurus
Mm-hmm.
yesterday or today. So now I'm feeling this huge amount of like space. And we know Taurus likes to take care of themselves. They like to ramp around. So it's this. I feel like this room now. I feel very roomy, and I think that's something that we have to fill into, is allowing ourselves to know and trust that the work is going to be done regardless of whether or not we do it ourselves. It's going to be
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And that was a lesson for me. That's a lesson in developing boundaries. It was a lesson in privileging myself. It was, and I actually, whatever it is that we are working through, that is the very thing that'll show up. It'll be your very first test. It'll be your, and maybe not test as a word, but whatever. It'll be your first opportunity for further growth. Is it'll show up again. Like, so as soon as I scale back on, let's say, consulting gigs or whatever, the first thing that'll show up is someone saying, "Hey, do you want to whatever?" And then I have to be like, "Oh, wait, no."
yeah.
Right? Like, wait a minute. I just said I wanted to cut back because I was going in 18 directions and,
And it's
yada, yada, yada.
still going, right? That momentum is
Right.
still going and going and going. So we have to. It's beautiful how the universe works, because we get what we ask for and what we focus on. So
Yes.
when we change, we kind of switch tracks. That train is gonna
Right.
keep going either way, but we have to stay focused on, okay, now nope, I've switched gears. Let
Right.
me be mindful that that's going to keep showing up until I acknowledge that this is what I really want.
Yeah.
Over.
And I love that you say really want. You know, One of the reasons why I stopped promoting the no mask, no cape is because I know from a universal law of attraction perspective, the brain doesn't understand negations, right?
Right.
So when we really say, like, I don't want to be sad or whatever, let's just pick that as an example. What you're really saying is you're calling sadness in because the brain just doesn't understand negations. A lot of times, to prove this illustration, I'll tell clients, like, don't think of the Eiffel Tower right now. You literally have to see it to not see it. And they're like, oh, I saw it, right? And I say, oh, now don't think of a cute puppy. Don't think of an elephant. It can't do don't. So when we say, I don't want sadness, it has to call sadness in and then try to remove it,
Mm-hmm.
which is exhausting work. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we haven't put clarity around what we want. It's like, we're always changing the channel. In the old cars, which used to have the knobbies, my car still has that, where you could manually just try. Remember, you used to have to tune it just right, and you were
Oh,
like, oh yeah,
yeah.
I got it, that's it. Like, don't move it. But I remember, I likened this to like trying to find your song while you're driving. This is before XM, before streaming, before all that stuff, where you wanted to hear your song on the radio. I used to pop through 7 different of my favorite stations trying to catch my song. But what would happen is I'd pick up the end of it on one, the beginning, the middle, because I was popping all over the place. So there was no clear anything really. I was just like, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Once I've just focused on a station, once you get clarity around what you want, the universe can give it to you in its entirety. I can hear the whole song if I pick one station and stick with it.
Ooh, that is the perfect perfect visual for frequency and energy. Perfect.
Yes,
Yeah, it's all
yes,
about tuning into and just knowing that yeah, we have a limitless amount of energy and things to focus on and so many things we want to do and so many things we want to accomplish. But it's all about what is right now, what is appropriate for us right now,
right now.
and and recognizing that clarity comes in with seeing, looking and reflecting at the past cycles and saying, okay, that no longer serves me, and this is what I want. And so, how do I tune
Yes.
in? Yeah, as you were describing, I could just sense that, just fine tuning every day, every day,
Every day,
every day.
every day, every day. Yes.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets me really excited because then I think we're like, we get upset. We're like, oh, I'm not getting what I want. But it's mostly impatience and lack of focus on what we do want. Because as you mentioned, what you focus on expands. And so, I'm also a hypnotherapist. You might not know that, but
Oh,
when I
okay.
went, yeah, I'm a hypnotherapist. Anyway, it's a long story. When I went through my hypnotherapy training, which I loved because my biggest thing is I'm a hashtag nerd. Like I could read like all day long. But when I went through my hypnotherapy training, we learned about neuroplasticity. We learned a lot about the brain function, which actually confirms all of the attraction things, right? So when we talk about what you focus on expands, in a brain and neuroscience way, it's called selective attentiveness as well. So if you've ever bought a new car, new to you or whatever, all of a sudden you see that car all over the place. But it's not because those cars just started materializing. It's because you primed your brain to look for it. Because now that's what you're selectively paying attention to. So you started to see it. So it's the same thing. If we focus on, if I want to focus on good, if I want to focus on joy, if I want to focus on peace, love, I'll start to see it, right? Even in these times of the pandemic, even in this time of great civil unrest right now, I can still, and that's that duality again, like I can still have great joy. I have great joy throughout most days, even as I grieve, the loss, and stand in solidarity, with my brothers and sisters and wondering, and I have a 6'8" black son and I married a 6'5" black man. So, the reality of it is very close to home. And I know that I don't want to live in fear. I choose not to live in fear because that's a choice, right? I could be like, oh, don't go out after 6, don't there. And I said, I don't choose. I don't choose fear. I'm going to have to choose. I choose love. I choose peace. I'm going to have to choose joy, right? And do whatever, practical, quote unquote, work that can be done. But I think the most practical work or the most impactful work might be a big energetic shift that, it's going to take collective consciousness raising.
Yeah, yeah. I that's yeah, it's definite. During this time, it's one of the things that I tell some of my clients is, it's that whole, cliche about this life being a journey, right? But when we actually embrace it that way, and now that we don't have to, rush to do this, rush to do that, rush to go to the store and all these different things, we can take time to experience those little things in our journey that makes all of this matter. It's all
Yes.
accumulative, it's all collective, and we
Yes.
just take time to appreciate, you know, um, getting to that place that we think we're going to be done at, but we're never done. That's
Never done.
voting of this beautiful journey in life. And it is a choice. It is a choice every day, to choose, choose joy, choose, your path, choose what you're going to be attracted to and your attention is going to be drawn to. That's been one of
Yes.
my prayers in the last couple of weeks. As you know, I was choosing my battles around, protest and all of these different things, and again, feeling like I have to hold space and and be present. And it was I started to feel myself, getting heavy, really getting heavy, really heavy again, and I had to take a step back and evaluate. Okay, where's my attention going lately? It's been everything that brings me anger, everything that brings pain, everything where I'm just deeply, seeping in this, this pain that we've been in for so long. But
Yes.
yet, when I'm able to breathe, I was thinking about when you were talking about our brain doesn't, hear or process the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about that protest of of George Floyd's last breath, and even as I was hearing that chant, I'm seeing us all breathing. I'm hearing us all breathing. I'm feeling us all wanting to breathe
Yes.
for us, for our brothers, for our ancestors, and just in that, to me, is like
Yes.
those little moments of clarity, of tapping into that space of, even when I'm grieving, I can feel the hope, I can feel the expansiveness of what this is
Yes.
doing.
Yes. Yes. It's powerful, and and around this work, my other hat is I've been doing DNI work for about 25 years. And I just left a role at a university where I was the chief diversity officer. Literally, my last day was right when the George Floyd situation was really bubbling. So it was May 29th. I think it was really coming to a national head. And one of the things that one of the reasons I have to remind myself that although all my research has that lens of social justice and equity, some of the work now, every time I see the term like anti-racism, you know, it, I'm like, I feel like there has to be a new term. Mother Teresa wouldn't go to a anti-war rally. I don't know if you've heard that story.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I'm not coming. Yeah, so Mother Teresa, there's this whole, I don't even know the story. I wish I could find it, but she refused to go to an anti-war rally, but she said, I'll be happy to show up for a pro-peace,
Wow.
because she understands, that the anti really is, I'm actually coming to a rally about where we're actually forefronting war,
Right.
right? When we really want to forefront peace, right? So every time I see things that say anti-racism, I know the intention is to halt some of the systemic and individual racism. And I'm like, how do we shift that to, like, what is the language that would be that would call in what we really want. But here's what I think is happening with that. And of course, I'm just talking on the fly. I'm just like blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as a nation, there is no idea what we want or what is might be possible, and so they can't call in anything. They just have to keep saying we don't want this. But we literally just said that's not how the brain works. The brain doesn't work like
It
that.
doesn't work that way. And this is one of the, when we think about like the African concepts in cosmology and how we think about the different faculties that we use, one of them is our great faculty of imagination. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've been encouraging, my following and my clients is to use your imagination. And I heard Amanda Seal say this a couple of weeks ago. She was, just expressing, she was like, it has to be something better. People are talking about defunding the police and they're getting afraid of what that looks like. And it was like, but we created everything. We created, she was saying Jolly Ranchers and this and this. And what makes you think
Everything,
that we
sis.
create anything better? So it's like using your grandest imagination. This is where we have to tap back into the joy space to get there,
Yes.
because this is where the child lives. The child has that great
Yes.
imagination. So there's
Yes.
nothing, they don't see negatives. They don't see, because
They
they're
don't
not
see
right.
limitations.
Right. They don't see limitations. They're not conditioned yet to feel the fears and all the, the rules around, what this culture and society impresses on us. So it's, yeah, getting back into that space of really expressing what do we want it to look like?
What do
And
we
so
want it
that's
to
the
look
question
like?
I've been asking people is what if you were to create this world, your greatest imagination, what would that look like?
And that's what we need more of, because we know that there are, infinite possibilities.
Absolutely.
But, we just look around and we say, well, this is what we do, and this is
And that's why things keep cycling back.
that's it's so cyclical, right? You can't, so yeah. And I've been, as you, I'm sure, I've been in this. First of all, we were all born into the fire, so there is no like dipping in and out. We were kind of born into it. We've just learned different protective gear and measures and different size of, water containers and fire extinguishers, whatever we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to college. My undergraduate degree is from Penn State, and that's in the central Pennsylvania, which is very rural.
Mm-hmm.
I was coming out of Philly. I know I don't present very much as a city girl anymore, but like big hoop earrings and the name belt and the whole, all the
Yes,
things,
all the silly things.
all the things. Going up to this space and we're like, there ain't no pink lotion for our hair, and there ain't no. I mean, there was that. Like literally, you could not go to the store and buy a. We made like this underground shipping thing. Like you're going home this weekend. I'm taking orders for pink lotion. We bought our own. Perms.
Right.
It was just. It was so oppressive. But that's when my journey of social justice began, because I became really involved with the Black Caucus. We had we had a huge campus sit-in with National Guard was called in. The whole 9 yards. I've already been arrested, like all those things. And I just see that it just, the very same things we were asking for, that was 20, 30 plus years ago, probably now. And, here we are again at current college campuses and current communities, just basically still, drumming the same, thing, saying the same thing. I said, okay, so it can be exhausting,
Mm-hmm.
unless you intentionally find a way to,
To break it up.
yeah,
To break
yeah.
it up, yeah, to disrupt even that. I mean, there's some disruption that has to happen even that. I saw that article where I guess one of the first publicized or known marches where it was 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we've been
Yeah.
marching for 100 years
Yes.
for the same
And
thing, for civil
and
rights.
before marching, I mean, you had Nat Turner's rebellion. You've had, I mean, people have been fighting for, equality in a number of different ways. This is nothing new. I've had several um, um, friends check in on me, white friends, to say, "Hey, are you good?" And I was like, another one of my friends said, "It's like you've been walking down a block, all of your life, and every day you see a house on fire, and now today you want to say like, hey, are you good? Like, I've been dealing with this the whole time you've been living. I've been also dealing with, systemic and individual racism, and so." And the way we deal with it, if I'm honest, my first response with George Floyd was such extreme numbing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that I literally, because, I was still working virtually, and I give thanks for the ability to do so. But I was like, okay, well, when's my next meeting? And, what's the next what? And people were like, we should probably put out a statement. I was like, about the guy that got killed? Because that felt like, not that I didn't care, obviously, right? But
But we've been there. We
right, but didn't we kill some? Wasn't, like,
Yeah, yeah,
so my coping mechanism has been I have to really be careful in what I ingest, right? So I've never seen the video. I will not watch the video because I cannot unsee it. And I have to be really, mindful of how much daily news I take in and all of those things. Because if someone's going to imprint my subconscious stuff, it's got to be me. And I get to select what's going to seep down there. That's the least I can do.
right, right.
Is what do I want to seep in there, because that's going to drive everything. And I choose not to have, that I can live in the reality without having to relive it.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel that. I know. I think that was the first video that I have watched, and
Oh, I heard it was bad, sis. I don't know how you
Yeah,
did it.
and it's yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I lately I've been feeling like yeah, just wanting to connect to whatever the collective conscience is, and that's what I also have to be mindful and careful about. Is not to about my attention and how much energy I give that. But it was something about um just about this moment and this time to where him being the catalyst for this uprising was just so it was just so I mean, the only word that comes to mind is literally breathtaking. I mean, it was just,
Yeah,
and that's not usually a word we use for something, that is like, hurtful or harmful. But yeah, and that's just what it was. And so in this, this fight for equality and equity, again, going back to the language that we're using, it's we're fighting. We're constantly fighting. And if we're fighting, we're always going to meet a fight. So in that space is of imagination. What if we started to move and look at as we if we're already equal or already if we already matter.
yes,
This is one of the things that I put in my blogs that I sent on my newsletter was I said, Black lives have always mattered. Have
yeah,
always mattered. But it was
yeah,
things like racism that all the things around racism that didn't allow that truth to be known. But
right.
now is the time through that catalyst of brother George. It was now is the time for that truth to be realized and to be seen.
It may be
Um,
heard and
yeah,
seen in a different way, in a more meaningful
yeah.
way, and it's so challenging because we know that race is also a social construct, right?
Mhm.
But we know that the impact of that social construction is, that the social construction of it doesn't negate how it's operated in all of our lives. And that's another duality of trying to hold in a space, right? That race biologically doesn't exist. It was actually created for the purposes that it's done to separate who can have land, to separate who can vote, to separate, it was actually created for separation. And so the idea that we now, are saying, no, it has to be one thing, that's the trick of it all. Like, how do you take something that was created to divide and now say, we want to use the same system to unify? You have to create a new system. That's the new way of thinking that you were talking about. Like, we've got to say, how do we want the world to look like? Let's envision the joy. Whatever, all of the things, I guess, that bring peace, joy, and harmony
Yeah.
instead.
That's one of the challenges that I'm hearing. That people are I guess feeling like I know I've had this. I've seen when this all started happening. I've seen a lot of spiritual people talk about, um, we can't give it attention, or just feeling really in the clouds with it. And now, people are really upset with that because there has to be some grounding in that. That's the duality, right? Like we understand we are this,
Yes.
we are the spiritual beings living a human experience, but we are these spiritual beings living a human experience. So where is that
Yes.
and how do we
Yes.
bring that together and say yes, we you know I recognize that there is no real racial construct, there is no real race,
Right.
all one just human race. But when there is this division that has happened in the human flesh, how do we bring that spirit down and start to disrupt or break or to
Yes.
harmonize. I'm going to say that, to harmonize it. So we do have to come out of the clouds in some way and to really ground that. um,
And that has been a real challenge. I'm glad that you forefronted that. For me, that's been a personal challenge because my page, the information that and that was a shift to post mostly high vibrational stuff, right? Which I believe, like reminding people constantly of who we are, the divinity of who we are, like how to retrain your thoughts, like what to believe. And that was a shift from my page, my personal page, I'll say maybe 10 years ago or so,
Mm-hmm.
when, everything that was happening, I want you to know, and this is going on, and, and sign this petition, and da da da, did you know this? And it was just so much. And then when I shifted, I said, other people can still share that. So they're getting it. I don't have to share it. Maybe I can be the counter to it. But with this new movement, I have found myself, right, like I have to now do a balance with it. Like I have to acknowledge that I have been impacted,
Yeah.
by it. I have not been sleeping as well all of the nights. Like, and I know that that's my nervous system trying to, get my attention because I'm ignoring it during the day. Like, we're good, get some stuff done, check this off my list, all the things. And when I try to go to sleep, it's like, oh, here are all the things that you've been trying not to think about all day. Well,
Mm-hmm.
here we are, and we'd like to talk to you. And they're like sitting in order. They're sitting really nice and polite, with hands, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
my turn. And I'm like,
Yes,
like,
and this
uh,
avoidance thing going on, right? Yeah.
as a coping mechanism. And so, that has been a real balance. And I think right now I'm just doing like a 50-50 on my page. Like I'll share what speaks to me that brings joy, and I'll share, things that are of our current co-created reality.
Exactly.
Yeah, share those as well. And I'm gonna let people pick and choose what resonates with them. So I'm just trying to listen to my heart on what I'm moved to share and to offer at
That's
this
it. That's
time.
where the love is. It's in the heart.
Yes.
When we get into the head, is where we try to, we have to separate
Child.
the process, and
Yeah.
we can't do it there. We can't do it there, so we have
You
to.
know that head will get you every time.
It will. It will. The mind does not understand as much as it wants to.
Head will get you every time, every time, every time. Not
Every time.
every
Every
time,
time.
every time, every time. And they say this is the longest distance. Someone told me it's the longest 12 inches from your head to your heart.
Yep. That it
Hmm.
is. Yeah. It
Yes,
is a practice every day. I've
yes.
also looked at my page and been like, okay, I can see I'm really in this, in this wave, because some days I'm like I'm really gritty, and some days it's like I just want to get thanks,
Right,
and that's
right. And
to
people are like,
me.
what are you talking about? And I'm like,
Right?
I don't know. Today I was just wondering. I looked at the birds and I saw it's pretty, pretty wings. And they're like,
That is it, though. That is life. I mean, and that is us in this duality. I mean,
yes.
that is it.
And it's okay. That's one of the phrases I learned when I was doing Qigong training. And it served me so well. And it's okay.
Love
It's
qigong.
almost like I know that's a whole nother live, but that gave me a lot of release as a recovering perfectionist to be like, oh, I didn't do all of the things, and it's okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh, I only slept till 10, and it's okay. Oh, just I was like, oh, that's like a pressure valve, like just opening that up, and I'm like, oh, it's okay, and it always is, right?
Oh yes,
It's always okay.
it's always okay. It's always.
It's okay.
It's so beautiful talking to you.
You too, sis. Thank you so much for and I don't know if you saw my personal Facebook page. I was like, I'm supposed to go live with someone sometime, somewhere. So,
I did. I was wondering if you were talking about me. It was like
yeah,
a
but
couple of
nobody
weeks
ever
away. So
spoke
I was
up.
like,
And
I'm
I
just
was like,
waiting.
well, I don't know who it is. I don't know what I'm doing. So that was a testament to my life then. I'm now in a space where I'm calling in calm, peace, order, and attention to what needs to have attention paid to it.
Yes, yes, yes. And yeah, let's just send that message out into the waves for everyone.
Are
Yes,
all the ones. But I've so enjoyed this. I feel like, as always, definitely a kindred spirit, definitely a connected soul, which I kind of knew, but now this is just confirmation. So
right. Look forward until we can connect
I
in
look
the
forward to our
flesh.
next tea time. It'll be great. Okay, here's mine. Thank you. Okay.
Peace.
Okay, bye bye.